on campus. First of all, my sources. So first part is based on this PRACE best practice guide for canals. I think it's if I want to do something on canals, is maybe a good reference to start with. And the last part of the talk is based on the lecture of Jens Gutsu about optimization. Okay, so the content, first of all, I want to introduce a bit. I want to talk about the architecture of the nice landing cards, the new generation of Xeon Phi processors. I want to talk a bit about how the structure is of memory architecture, all of kind of clustering modes one has. And then the second part will be just about optimization, so in principle of Xeon optimization. I will talk about vectorization and maybe about the vector to change the data layout to increase the performance of your cards. Okay, good. So just first slide. These canals, there are three different, they come in three different configurations, so you can buy them in three different configurations. First one is just a coprocessor card, which comes with 16 GB of high bandwidth memory and a PCIe access to the host memory. And then the more interesting stuff is so the second one, standalone host processor, where you can run an operating system on, which means you have also this high band memory, and additionally you have access to the DDR4 memory. And you can communicate with other canals. What will be used in HPC application will be the last one, more or less, which comes with an inter-omni-pass communication.
That this product is already available.
Yeah, since last year, it's almost 1 year so on the market. So since I think
we ordered this product last year, but we have not received any answers about it from this internet site.
Okay.
I don't know. Is it possible to buy now?
Okay, I didn't try to buy it, but I think you can order it. So it should be.
I ordered it, but no answer from them.
Okay, so come from Windows, so I don't know what. Okay, good. So let's talk about what the canal is composed of. So it's composed of 36 compute tiles, which are connected by a 2D mesh. Each of these tiles are composed of 2 cores. Close to the cores there is a 16 GB high-stacked memory, which can be accessed by memory controllers, and as well as up to 348 GB of DDR4 RAM. Yes, and you have optional this omni-pass controller. Compared to the KNCs, so the last and previous generation of Xeon Phi cards, there's a paradigm shift. As I already mentioned, canals has a capability to run an operating system on it. The canals are fully inter-Xeon ESA compatible. What is another point is that the canals are it's a single socket system, which means you can only have one canal per node, which means you need a good communication fabric to communicate between the nodes if you want to scale more than one canal. In principle, what I will also discuss here is the canals provides different memory modes. So different management of the MP RAM and M2 cache, which you should keep in mind if you want to optimize, if you want to run on canals, and to find out what is the best mode for your application. Okay. So first of all, the processor architecture. So it's there are 72 Silvermont-based cores, which have a clock rate of around 1.3 to 1.6 gigahertz. As I already mentioned, they're organized in tile. Here's a tile. Here's some picture of it. So each tile consists of 2 cores, and each core has two AVX 512 vector processor units, and to each tile there is a 2 cache of 1 MB, so which means on the whole card there's 36 MB 2 cache available, and these are connected by a 2 mesh topology. In principle, the performance compared to KNC should be vector 3 better. Okay, so the 72 cores are multi-threaded, supports for threads per core, hyper-threaded threads per core. There are 2 AVX units, as I already mentioned, which means you support 8 double position operation per circle or 16 single position. Interstate, at least 1 thread per core should be used to reach the peak performance. And what is a really good point is that the Xeon cores are ISA compatible, which means you can run any Xeon application on it, which means also you can use your normal CPU code to run the canals without changing your source code. If you say not optimized, but it's working. Okay, so the core as the instruction set architecture in this case, as I already mentioned, it's compatible with Intel Xeon products. So KNL supports this instruction SXE, AVX, and AVX2, and on top of this is new AVX 512, which will be also part of the new upcoming metal chips. Yeah, these are the new stuff which KNL supports. So I will talk a bit about this vectorization optimization in this Singapore implementation. Yeah.
I have a question. When you put the operating system, how many cores do you see in the operating system? All the cores are identical, 288 cores?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, okay, so you have, depends on how many hyperthreads, hyperthreading cores you have, so you can also have until up to 200, 4 times 72. Okay, so I was talking about the different memory, about the memory architecture. So you have this, what I already mentioned, you have the 16 megabyte high-speed stacked memory and DDR4 RAM. So the bandwidth towards the 16 gigabyte MCD RAM is given by around 400 gigabytes per second, and there's a connection to the DDR4 RAM which goes around 90 gigabytes per second. And it provides different memory modes how you can how this memory can be used. It's both here. This cache mode, this flat mode, and the hybrid mode. In case of flat mode, so in the case of the flat mode, which means in this case the MCD RAM has physical addressable space, which means that the programmer itself can immigrate data out and into this MCD RAM. This mode should be provides the highest bandwidth and the lowest latency. In principle, it's so because you have additionally to the DDR and you have the MCD RAM, that increases the totally addressable memory in the system. Okay, the drawback is you have to manage it. So in the case if your application exceeds the 16 gigabyte memory, which means you have to have the programming that you have to allocate explicitly memory in your MCD RAM, which you can do with this mem kind library. Maybe it's called HDW_malloc to allocate memory in your MCD RAM, and just a normal malloc to allocate memory in the DDR. Okay, which means that this to optimize this in this mode, you have to invest money and time. Okay, then the other memory mode is the cache mode. In principle, here the application code can run unchanged. So the operating system will organize your data use, and this means somehow the MCD RAM is used similar to a 3 cache. Okay. The benefit if memory fits into the 16 GB S3 cache, bandwidth is increased. The drawback if you have cache misses is that you have to communicate. This miss has to be communicated back, and then this has to be communicated with the DRM, which means increase of the latency. Yeah, okay, all data has to transfer from the DDR to the MCD RAM, and you have addressable memory. And then there's a third mode which you can put in the Xeon Phi cards, which is the hybrid mode where you have invisible mixture of the cache and the flat mode. One part of the MCD RAM is then used like in cache mode, and one part is used like in cache mode. Okay. So the question is, what kind of mode would be useful to use for your kernels? Okay, it depends a bit on what kind of application you want to run on this. In general, if your memory, if your application, if your memory matched to the 16 GB, then optimal would be the flat mode. You can use this program num_actil to map towards this domain. So, in the case that your application doesn't match it to this memory, which you used doesn't match into the 16 GB CD RAM, but your memory can be easily split into critical and non-critical. You can use this flat mode, but then you have to change the source code by using this memory allocation, and all other cases, maybe the cache mode would be optimal. So, okay, this is to somehow the memory modes, which maybe you should keep in mind if you try to want to run on now. Depends a bit on how the system is configured. These three different modes can be optimal, not optimal. And then there's the M2 cache, which comes also with different modes. So what I already said, each tile has a slide of this L2 cache, which are symmetrically shared by the two cores in this tile. And these L2 caches are connected by this mesh in both directions, then redirect in a ring. Okay, in principle, the cache coherence is organized as a set of fertile tag directories, which identify the stable location. And for any memory address, the hardware can identify with the hash functions in tag directory responsibility. To manage this complexity and to set the optimal mode for the operation, the programmer can access different clustering modes, which means there are modes like all-to-all, quadrant, and subnumeral modes, which has to be selected by boot time. So just to get an overview what all the different modes are. So all-to-all, in this case, the memory addresses are uniformly distributed across all tag directories. It's the easiest setup, but it's almost the lowest performance. Then there is this quadrant mode, or similar to it, there's a hemisphere mode. In this case, the memory is divided into 4 parts, so in quadrants. And the addresses are hashed to the same quadrant. Generally, it should provide the lowest latency and the higher bandwidth, but and also the 2 cache misses are reduced compared to the all-to-all mode. And then there are somehow hybrid modes, like the subnormal modes, where all 4 quadrants are exposed as virtual neural clusters. Depends also on the application. If it's similar there, then you can profit from it. Okay, but okay, the daily use is just a graph. But just to give you to mention that there is different kind of applications. Okay, so then I will come to the second part of this talk. In principle, we want to talk about optimization, so you're seeing a co-optimization. As I already mentioned, your kernel is SA compatible, which means you can use your software, which is programmed for where your source code is used for the program for the CPU, okay, to optimize to get the to run efficiently or better on the kernels, you should optimize it on top of this code. In principle, your code should be then vectorizable to make use of this AMX 112, and should be parallelizable, parallelized with OpenMP or API to use to make use of the 72 cores. Just to mention what kind of compiler flags are used for compiling, optimizing it. Run on kernels, you just have here, I just pick up the Intel compilers, and you should add this compiler flags. And yeah. So the question is now how to optimize your code for kernels. In principle, you can use somehow to look at what your code is able to how good it can run on the kernels. So this questions we want to look at in principle. In principle, you can choose this bottom-up approach, which means you just look at what kind of features of your code can be optimized. So first of all, you should select a proper algorithm. Maybe there's some public code available or some vendor libraries available for your problem. Here I will discuss single core performance optimization, which means the vectorization and the memory library. The next step would be to look is the open P performance optimized. So, in principle, to answer this, to see if there is some optimize, if you can get some more performance out of your code, just to answer the question if it scales with a number of threads. The same for the API performance. Should answer the question if it scales with a number of API tasks. Okay, maybe you can optimize the scaling by thread placement or processor placement of your application. And maybe you should look into the I/O performance. Maybe you can optimize it there. Okay, just remember that the compiler already increases your code, which means if your compiler has auto vectorization, then if you run your application, if you answer this question, then maybe this is already included. So if you want to optimize on top of this, you should be aware that maybe the compiler do some optimization. Okay, so as I already said, so the content of this second part is given by this. So first of all, I will just start with a simple performance model. And then I will talk about optimization, minor some change of data. Okay. So first of all, if you want to know what you can get out of here, or where to start with your optimization, you should be aware of the hardware characteristics, which means you should know the floating point rate of your hardware, which is here given by the theoretical highest number of floating point operations that can be carried out by the computational unit. In principle, it depends on the clock rate and vector lengths. Then on the other side, there's the bandwidth, which is the theoretical highest number of bytes that can be read and written from and to some level of the memory, for example, to the RAM or from the RAM. Depends on the channels and the banks. In case of the KNLs, you can just try to calculate this. So the peak floating point rate, we have 72 cores with a clock rate of around 1.3 to 1.6 gigahertz. If you look into this 512 bit fused multiply and add per cycle vector operation, then we have per clock 8 multiplication and 8 addition per cycle, which means you have per 16 clocks per cycle. If you have, say you have a clock rate of 1.6 times 10 to the power 9 cycle per second, so 1.6 gigahertz, you get a rate of 25 gigaflops per core. And if you say, okay, we have 72 cores, then we have to multiply this by 72. So we get around 1.8 teraflops per cycle, double precision, and around 3 teraflops per cycle for single precision. On the other hand, we have these different memories. So peak bandwidth from the MCP RAM is given by this 400 gigabyte per second, and the bandwidth from the DDR4 is given by 90 gigabyte per second. Okay, so if you want to optimize our code, you should have these numbers in mind. Okay, so now we can go to our computational kernel to see what our application, what are the numbers of our application in principle. So we can define the sustained floating point rate, which is given by the measured average number of floating point operation carried out by the kernel per unit time. So we can look into our source code and calculate these numbers. So look how many floating point operations the kernel is doing, count them, and if we so the sustained floating point rate is here given by the number of operations divided by the runtime of our application. Okay, if we cannot count the number of floating points, maybe there's some additional tools like performance counter to get an estimate. On the other side, there's this sustained bandwidth of our application, which is a measured average byte read and written from the kernel from the main memory per unit time. So it's the same as in the case of the floating point rate. The count bytes needed to be read, and so we should count the bytes which should be read and written to the RAM and divided by the time of our runtime of our application. Okay, we will look to some examples next slides. Then we assume that we just read data once. So we just make a really simplification of this model. Okay, so an example would be this kind of kernel. This is a matrix multiplication of there we have L of these matrices X. So we can calculate now the number of floating point operations. So what we have is, first of all, we have a matrix A, which is given by n by n. Then we have two matrices which has 3 dimensions, so which is y and this x. And we want to perform these operations. We have just to do some for loops. Okay, so we can count here in principle the operations are done, so we can count the operations in 2. So we have 3 for loops, 1 over L, 2 over n, so we have n times n operations, and we have 2 floating point operations here, so the number of floating points operations given by 2 times L times n to the power 3. I missed one for loop, I think. The for loop over V, sorry. So here should be another for loop over V that you have n to the power 3. Sorry, just. Okay, and then the number of bytes which you have to read. In principle, it's you have to read the entries of A and X, and you have to write the entries of Y, which means the entries of Y is given by 2 times A by L times n to the power 2. And of X, so you have 2 times of this, plus the entries of A, which is given by X squared. And then it depends on what kind of, if you have single position or double position, depends on how many bytes you need. So for single A double. So in principle, it scales with 2 times n times n to the power 2. So and you see A is used here quite a lot of times. So if it would be possible, you should keep A in the low level cache. Okay. Know that in principle here what we did in this simple counting of memory I/O is that the entries, the elements of X and Y, A are required multiple times. So just for example, for this element we have to use A00, and for this element we have to use A00. But we only count them once. So here's the correct for loop. So here's CD. And so we can now, if we now know our running time, we can calculate the floating point rate, which is defined by beta, number of floating points over the average time, and the I/O rate is just given by the number of I/O over the running time. And in general, this motivates to define I intensity, which, if you divide this by this, this running time drops out, and then we can define the intensity of our curve just by this ratio. Okay, so the computational kernel intensity here is given by, we said the ratio of these two numbers. So if you go to our example, we had the number of floating points are 2 times L times n to the power 3 divided by this number. So in this case, L drops out, and we are left with N over W. Okay, in this case, if our problem size L, if L is our largest number, then in this case it drops out, which means the kernel here is constant. The kernel intensity here is constant with respect to the problem size. For example, if you have n equal to 3, we have this kernel intensity is given by 0.375 flops per byte. Similar to the kernel intensity, we can define the machine intensity, which are defined similar. So just by the floating point rate or the I/O rate. Okay, we have a simple model here. So just okay, for the canals, if we include the 72 cores, which means our application should be perfectly parallelized. If we just have, if our memory matched into the MCD run, we have the machine intensity is given here by 4.5 flops per byte in the case of double position, and okay, 2 times in the case of single position. If our application memory doesn't match into the MCD run, we have to decode it from the DDR, and then this drops down. This increases to 20 flops per byte. Okay, so which means we can now compare the kernel intensity to the machine intensity and say about something about our kernel. So, for example, if the kernel intensity is much bigger than the machine intensity, then the kernel is compute bound, which means a higher floating point of the machine would lead to a higher performance, but not a bigger bandwidth, which not necessarily increase your performance. The same case on the other side, so if the kernel intensity is much smaller than the machine intensity, then the kernel is bandwidth memory bound, which means higher bandwidth should lead to a higher performance, but not a higher floating point rate. Okay, and the ideal situation would be if these two numbers are similar to each other. For the problem which we studied, the kernel intensity is smaller than the machine intensity, which means the kernel is memory bound. Okay, so we do a lot of assumption here, so just to mention it. Okay, another example would be matrix-matrix multiplication. So in this case, another kernel. In this case, we just multiply n by n matrix with an n by k matrix. Okay, so you have again a loop, and in this case, sorry, somehow I didn't delete it here. I deleted it in the beginning. We have the two loops over m and k, and 2 over n, so which means we have m times n, m times k times n operations here. We have an addition and multiplication, so we have two floating point operations here. The number of IOs, we have to read this matrix and this matrix, which is given by m times n and n times k. And we have to write this k in a C matrix, so this is the number of I/O. And then we can calculate the kernel intensity by dividing these two numbers, and we have this number here. For the case that we said we have square matrices here, so everything is n, you see that you get this kernel intensity, which is 2 over 3 n times n over w, which means in this case the kernel intensity depends on the problem size n. So, which means on a given architecture, in principle, this kernel should kernel intensity should transfer from bandwidth bounded to compute bounded, if any. Okay, and if you just use these numbers, you can see this from the campus. And it should be, so in this case, n is n around 50, and it's would be balanced. If you use MCD around 250% DDF for it. Okay, but okay, we have just used the same similar models. Okay, so which means we can come to the case where we say, okay, what are the possibilities to optimize our what we should change in our kernels to optimize our application in principle. So we should know these numbers, what is our floating point operation which we want to do with or to solve our problems, and the I/O which of our algorithm. So we should know if this is if it's kernel or compute bounded on our memory or compute bounded on our architecture. What are these these numbers? So if you know this, we can answer how to optimize our kernels. Okay, so which means in this case we can start to optimize our kernel. Let's say. So in the case if your kernel is memory bounded, we should optimize the I/O, the memory. So ideally, we want to achieve that this ratio goes to 1, so that the I/O of our kernel approaches machine. And if it's compute bound, it should to optimize the floating point rate of our putting this to 1. Okay, in practice, somehow there are strategies which target both. Because if you can bring efficiently memory to the processor, then the core, then also then maybe you can use inefficient trees for the operations. Okay, so on this system, the compiler is doing a lot. By loop encoding, prefetching, auto-vectorization. Okay, we want to talk optimization on top of this O3. But just to mention it, so before you should measure the effect of auto-vectorization of the compiler. In principle, the auto-vectorization can be switched off by using this compiler flags, and then you can compare the performance of code which is compiled with this, of your executable which is compiled with this, to the case where you don't use it, where you use auto-vectorization. On the CaSToRC, you should the factor between totally vectorized and not vectorized should be in factor 8 for double position operations. In principle, if the difference between your kernel, which is where you switch off auto-vectorization and where auto-vectorization is done and used in the compiling, if this difference is small, then there should be a huge potential for optimization. Okay, so what I will talk about, just will talk about vector intrinsic functions. Let's say in the first point, in the first side, this seems to target compute bound kernels, which means I just if I use this functions, then I increase floating point operation per cycle. However, if I pack this my variables into vectors, aligned numbers, then I can also beneficial from better I/O so I can use my bandwidth much better. Okay, so just going to so what I already mentioned is the canals has these vectorization and relation capabilities. It supported AVX 512, but this can also use it can also deal with this AVX2, AVX, and SSE. Just to mention it, what is the idea of it? So just we have, for example, a for loop over want to operate on our kernel consists of this operation. So we have something like vector addition and scalar is the vector multiplication. So we can, if our compiler doesn't enroll this, we can unroll this. We can revise this, for example, into this kernel in principle. So we can just write it into a vector style. So you see here I have four elements. And also here. So a principle here is just a pseudocode, but in principle how this intrinsics works is you have, first of all, you have to stack your memory you have to load your memory into this into a variable which consists of 4 floats here. This you can do by load your vector which you want to operate on into this variable, and then you can perform this vector operation on this, and at the end you have to store it. So which means first of all you have to convert your memory into this stuck memory in principle. You can perform on them and then you have to store it again. Okay. So in principle, the intrinsics are extension C and architecture specific. I think just to have a good overview, you can find on this web page. It's all these intrinsics functions also. Where you can in principle you can find everything from SSE to AVX 512. In principle, if you want to use them, you should include the header as in defined, for example this or this. And here's an example of this fused multiply add kind of principle. So you see this operates on 3 different, on this A vector, and this B and C vector, and it's performed in one circle. Vector multiplication of these elements and an addition. Okay, so just a short introduction. So the variables, the vector types are defined in this header. So if you have, the variables are clearly defined as underscore n 128, which is 128 bits single position variable, where you can pass in principle for single position 4 floats. The double example for this 128 is coming with underscore n 128d. This can pack 2 double numbers, and then we have this 256 bit variables, and now this AVX 512. There are these vector types available where you can store 16 single position variables and 8 double. similar to this one, for example, there are these load functions, which comes this is in front, and okay, to load, for example, some variable to this variables. This is some code, so you should. So one restriction is that your vector should match into this. Should be divided by, so should match into these variables, to these vectors. So the vector length. So yeah, use positive allow to allocate your memory, and then this for the statics, and then there's different load functions. We see, for example, if you want to load something in this format, it just has this button in front. And the same for the stores, just the same. So. The S tends to single position. Then there's different vector arithmetics available. For example, this one here, which adds two vectors of the type n underscore n. So you have here this position double. Or this type where you have single position. It comes let's multiply this, the elements of this vectors. Okay. So in principle, so MM comes with this SSE, and MM 256 comes with AVX, and 512 comes with AVX. Okay, in general, our processors support this fuse multiply add function where you have in the same clock a multiplication of two vectors, and this number an addition of these numbers. Yeah. So in principle, you can go to this web page to get an overview what you have.
Which compiler do you use for this?
In this case, in principle, intercompilers, but the new generation of the group compilers which also supports this.
GCC, you tried with GCC?
I didn't, but I have a compiler flex for GCC, but until now I just use intercompilers. The application which I run was to my spec.
Most versions support instructions. 6 or 5.3 and later.
Okay, so yeah. Yeah, so if you look if you go to this web page, you can find a lot of different you find a lot of definitions of these functions. For example, if you want to search for fused multiplication add functions, in the AVX 512 standard, if you search for it, you get all these different kind of functions which are available, and then you get a description of what are the variables and what other operations are done with this. Yeah, the same for example, if you look for 512 mole or so multiplication, then you can find all these different available versions there. Okay. Then in some cases, especially what we are doing, is you have to use complex numbers. And for this you have to shuffle vectors in principle. There are functions available which are doing these operations. Yeah. there's always a complex multiplication, so you want to multiply two complex numbers. And in principle, yeah, a complex number has a real and imaginary part, and you want to multiply this number. You have to multiply so the number which comes out is also a complex number. What you see is that for the real part of the number which comes out, you have to work on the real value and on the imaginary value. And here you see that you have to multiply for the imaginary part of this z, you have to multiply the real value of the imaginary value, which means if you store this x and y in vectors, and you store it like this, that first of all your real part comes and then the imaginary part comes. You have to switch the values, the entries from the second entry has to be the first entry that you can work on this vector operation. So just here an example for a kernel, which is not vectorized. Yeah, you see here that you multiply the real number, then you have to subtract the square of the imaginary part of this two variables, and for the imaginary part of this set, you have to mix up this stuff. Well, this can be done by shuffle functions, so let's go to this one. Naive way would be this sort of code. So keep in mind. So in this case, okay, let's say in this case we organize our numbers that we in these vectors. The memory is allocated that first comes the real and then imaginary, and then real and then imaginary. So we can load them into this format. And then you see for this operation, for this operation you have to work on the real part. Okay, so let's go through the code. So we have to swap the real and the imaginary. Here we swap the real and the imaginary of the vector yx0 and put it into yx1 by the sub function talking about this comes as a mask and two vectors. So we take elements from here and here and put it into here. Here we just switch them, that we have something. Then we have to put the imaginary values of vy0 into those elements of vy1. So we just take the imaginary values of this and put it into y1. And then at the end we just put the real values of y0 into y0. And then you see you have to multiply this here. We have to multiply this -1. So we have this. We find this variable this -1, 1, -1, 1. This is in principle done here to switch the sign, and then we operate on these vectors by vector multiplication, so point by point, and add them up into this new variable x, where this is now set. It looks a bit. One has to go through and to understand, to see really that this switching makes this operation. But okay, this is a case where it's a bit more complicated. One can make it in an easier way. So I just need to to show that one can switch vector elements. So how this is done? So in principle here for this for the SSE standard, we have two variables, two vectors which we want to switch, or with a mask here. This comes as a bit mask, for example. So if we use a mask when we have 0, 0, we just do nothing in principle. So C is assigned to A and B of 0, 0. No, nothing. You just take the 0 element of A and of B and put it into C. If you have this mask, so you see if the 1 is here, you just take the first element of A here and you put it to the first element of C and takes the 0 element of B and put it into the second element of C. So in principle, we can mix up by using a shuffle function different values of C. Yes. So this can be extended to the smart function this. However, there's a better implementation for this complex vector, for this complex numbers multiplication, which is shown here. In this case, we just have to shuffle once. So in principle, you can use also somehow this for loop. Which describe the complex number multiplication. Yeah, first of all, you have to load again variables into these vectors. Then you shuffle. So what you have to do here is you see here this vector is in the right order. This is also in the right order. But here this Y is still in the right order, but what is shuffled here is just the X entries. So the imaginary value is now in position 1 and the real value is in position 2, which means we just take here the second element, put it to 1, here the first element, put it to 2. Yeah. And then we can perform on, so then we have to see here is a minus. So here we have to be careful with the minus sign. So we multiply this guy with this alternating variable here, and then we just we perform this vector operation and this vector operation. And at the end there is this function h add, which just at the at vector at just the elements of arc 0 here, and that's which just operate on this vector of so which operates on this vector and this vector.
Is this really what is the performance benefit of using these? Like, is it really useful? Because after you take the code from the left and write it in a form that's on the right, I mean, only you can actually maintain it for the future. It's completely unreadable to anyone who is not into the problem. So, I mean, is it really useful, or will the compiler essentially figure out, oh, okay, I can now optimize this and produce exactly the same code?
Okay, yeah, okay, probably, first of all, it's difficult to say.
I have some numbers about this. In general, using intrinsics depends on the code, on a well-written code. 2 times up to 8 times faster. And also on other architectures as well. So.
Yes, but will the advances in the compiler technology essentially make the whole manual writing with intrinsics useless?
Yes, but the first code, the best compiler effort gives you performance. Using intrinsics, you get that's that.
Okay,
You need to write some kernels that you have to maintain versions of this. And of course, keep the original code.
Okay, sorry, it means that these directives directly call this optimization procedures, which critical for these CPUs. When I use the second and 512D and the
Yes, these are the lower intrinsics. These are faster, depends on the code, but memory runs and so on, 2 times, at least 2 times faster.
Yeah, okay, let's say in this case you have this sphere with complex numbers, which is where you have this then you have to access first of there you have to access first of all the first element, and then you have this the switching, and then this depends a bit on if the compiler really understands if the compiler can enroll this, because you switch your entries, which means in this case and everyone has to test it if how good performance you get out of it. But in this case, okay, it depends also how you save your complex numbers. But for complex numbers, so for real numbers, you don't have this mixing up, and if the compiler understands how to vectorize it.
For example, I'm working with complex numbers, and I just use the built-in types for complex numbers. I mean, it's essentially the same as this, but I never write it like that. I just write z equals x times y, and that's the end of it. I mean, I can't write it like this, but I don't see the point. I should compile it already figure this out.
Okay, yeah.
So have you ever tried it if the compiler figured it out?
Well, I didn't try it, but I kind of expect
I don't
that
think they
it's
can
maybe it'll change. I mean, if they don't know how to optimize the multiplication of complex numbers of their own architecture using their own compiler technology, and how can they provide?
Yeah. Okay. For example, in our case, we have vectors of 12, so of a length of 12, and then I'm not sure how the compiler will evolve
Okay,
this.
well, in some complex examples, of course, but I mean, for basic applications, I mean, shouldn't it already be able to figure out most of the transformations which are obvious and always applicable?
Yes.
So what I'm asking is, I mean, these engineers sound very interesting, but should I like waste 6 months of porting my programs to them only to figure out after 6 months that once the code finally compiles and finally works, that actually, I didn't get any performance benefit because the compiler all this time actually did the same thing?
Yeah, this is.
So that's the question. Or like if after those 6 months, the Intel releases a new version of the compiler, and that compiler actually compiles that. What is that?
It's always
This is always the case, and we can help it.
That happens all the time.
Yes.
But this seems like a big task,
Yeah, but okay, you will mention on your code, you will take a function to see if it improves by doing this, right?
So it's a very small example, but only when I have like a completely the whole critical path ported to the new function, then only then can I realize whether it's actually useful. Small parts are not really, don't give me the picture.
Okay. But I think you can time the function and see, not just run your code application.
I was more thinking like, is there any way to get the intrinsic that the compiler produces, and then see if that would somehow look like the code that I would write myself?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So there are compiler flags when you get reports about the vectorization of your source code. Okay, that depends a bit on how long they are. And,
But they would essentially look like.
then you see what follow is vectorized and what not. Which follow is vectorized and which not. And yeah, in principle, then maybe you can understand better if it's useful to invest it 6 months or not. In principle, in this case, we can answer in this as practice guide. There is some tips to how to do this. So, yes, this would be one possibility, just to look what actually the compiler did, to get an impression if the most critical loops or the most critical operations are vectorized or not. Okay. Okay, so then this was part of the vectorization. The last part is a bit to changing a bit the data layout. So there are other strategies to optimize your kernel. For example, to transfer your data layout. And maybe also transformation, which can assist vectorization or auto-vectorization. So the idea is to have better cache locality of your data, of your memory. The data are ordered in a way that is close to the order in which they will be accessed in the kernel as possible. So one should reorder the data such that an element needs to be accessible. If an element needs to access multiple times, then this is close to each other. This accesses. Okay, and one thing which comes with it, if you probably it's then easier to vectorize your kernel. Yeah. One example is, for example, matrix for multiplication. So we just had this kernel, or we just discussed at some point this kernel. So if you perform just this loop here. We just make, so if you closer to this operation, we make here, we go over every row of A and call every column of B. And which means we need to, so if we are here, we read array of B to multiply, to build up C here. And then if you go to the next row of A, you need to call again all this columns of B. So in principle, and then in the case if n is too large, then there's another stuff if this row doesn't match anymore in the L2 cache. You have to recall elements which you need in. So you first of all, if you look at this for loop, you go through this elements, and then you start again at 1 and go through. Then you would start at this element again, but if the memory doesn't match into the L2 cache, you have to recall this memory again. So maybe there are smarter ways to organize this operation. And the smarter way is just to consider a block conversion, for example, which means you just you rewrite your kernel such like this that you just operate on small blocks, and so somehow what you do is, okay, you have a for loop, an outer for loop over your blocks, and then you have for loop over the elements of the blocks, and then just let's say then you reduce your kernel problem such that you just multiply this matrix with this matrix, and then you would go to the next element of B and multiply it by this, just such that to build up C, and this can increase your performance. This is a bit, let's say, a bit complicated, but it's so the trick to perform this just to transpose B, then the variables are looking the same. And you have to be careful that your coefficient K, which runs over the inner elements, goes C and T. So this would be one point to, in case of matrix multiplication, to reorganize the use of the data such like this that it's that you don't have to call elements several times far away from each other. This is one point to you can profit from data layout. Other things are, for example, to change from arrays of structure to structure of arrays. So in principle, okay, this is, arrays of structures arise naturally when we're mapping physical progress to the code. For example, we can define an area of coordinates, so just in a three-dimensional space x, y, z. And then we have to allocate an area of coordinates, for example, by doing this. So if you, for example, just a simple calculation of the distance, or the distance from the length of the distance of this point to 0, we should use this column here, the square root of first element squared plus the second element squared plus the third element squared. And just by looking at it, you see that it's rather complicated to use it into that the compiler maybe could have difficulties here to auto-vectorize this loop if you have a loop over L of these structures, and so there could be a better way to write this kernel just by rewriting the structure here. Go to structure of arrays by just defining this coordinates. So locate array here for x, y, and z, and then you just, if you encode this, you see that you now operate on this vector set y and x, and not anymore on the structures. And then you see it's much easier to vectorize this operation. Okay, so too fast. So I lost to the conclusion. So first of all, the first part of this talk was introducing the hardware architecture of the canal. So to keep in mind there are these 32 tiles, 6 tiles, 16 gigabyte MCD RAM, optional up to 384 DDR4 people are running. Each tile consists of these 2 silicon-based cores, up to a clock rate of 1.6 GHz. Each tile has this 1 MB battery cache. Then there are different memory modes available, flat cache and this hybrid mode, and different cache modes available. It's also all programmed for this sphere, and depends on your kernel equity. achieve different performances. And then I was talking about the single core optimization was introducing this kernel intensity, this machine intensity, and if you want to optimize your kernels, you should aware of standards. Okay, and then I was talking about this vectorization, maybe change of the data layouts. Okay, and in principle you should use an parallelizable and so. Yeah. So thank you.
Questions? Are there any libraries like Mat.h that are optimized for this process?
Okay, so as far as I know, that Intel has this MKL library, which should be available for this. This is all I know. So
Do you use them?
I don't use them. No, I use some optimized kernel for.
Questions? So if there are no more questions, let's thank us.
Sorry. We have an application that can work with any number of tasks, threads, and so on. What is the best combination of scale now? Task threads, say that have 64 cores, which means 156 total threads. You can have one task 200 something threads or other products.
Let's say this, yes.
And it is not data dependent. The performance is not data dependent. The application in general can work the same way with any.
I think it's okay from what so in my case it's well, it depends on the kernel what kind of stuff this application is doing, because for example I didn't saw any difference between to run on 64 process with 64 threads or this 128 threads. Then it depends also how the application is using the memory and
In general, threads per task. Task built to course. In general is the best.
yeah, okay, but it depends also on how good you bring the memory to the course. So.
Tasks built to course with this map, strange map, but 3 or 4 threads per task. In general.
Okay, yeah, it really depends on the application. So it's
So it's just that it can run this way in any number of combination, but you have no data dependencies within the performance. But in general, the performance is better. Task the same as number of cores, and 3 or 4 threads.
yeah, so yeah, it really like so. I saw it that it makes not really much difference for my applications.
Yeah. Do you have any intercommunication between the processes?
Yes.
So, more questions? Okay, so let's thank our speaker again.